Swag out them boss.
And welcome to another episode of the Sartorial Geek Podcast about Webster Style, where we talk about bow ties, comic books, and everything in between. I'm your host, Webster Style, the man, the voice, the fragrance. So let's jump right into it this week, talking about the download. Now, this week's recommendation for download is one that has been on the Nintendo Switch for about a year or two now, and it was a Nintendo Switch exclusive to the popular Monster Hunter franchise. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Monster Hunter Rise. Well, now it is finally dropped on the PlayStation's family of systems, PC, as well as Xbox One S and X. And of course, if I'm talking about it, there's about a 95% chance that it is also on Game Pass. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is currently on Game Pass. Now, what is Monster Hunter? It is an action RPG developed and published by Capcom, whereas the player takes the role of a hunter, tasked with slaying or capturing large monsters using a variety of weapons, tools, and environmental features to damage and weaken them while surviving their attacks. Successful completion of the offered quest provides loot, typically in the form of various monster parts from the monster, which are used to forge new armor and weapons that can be used to take on more powerful monsters, forming the series' notable core loot. And this is one that wasn't really on my radar, but since it's on Game Pass and since I've heard such good things about the franchise, I decided to dip my toe into the Monster Hunter Rise pool. And let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely hooked. Now, I have not been able to spend as much time as I've wanted to, but I am just really enjoying the gameplay thus far. It is such a fun game to play. I really understand why the series has such worldwide appeal and such a large fan base now after actually having played it, even just for the shorter bit of time that I have. So I am absolutely looking forward to playing more Monster Hunter Rise. And if you have Game Pass, I definitely recommend you download it. If you're looking for to purchase it as well, I believe it's running for either $59.99 or $49.99. So it's not a $70 game, but it is one I think you'll get a lot of time and, more importantly, your money's worth from playing. So that's my take on Monster Hunter Rise. Now let's talk about our short takes. Now our short takes are going to be short this week. First up, we have the latest trailer that dropped for the Mandalorian Season 3. And I have to say, I have been kind of iffy on a lot of the Star Wars TV series. I never finished Obi-Wan. It just kind of got on my nerves about midway through. And frankly, I haven't finished The Mandalorian either. That's simply because of time, not because of lack of interest. But one of the things I love about The Mandalorian is they really keep this outer space Wild West theme, and that was really on display with the trailer for Season 3. The Mandalorian is such a beautiful Star Wars series, and it really does set the bar for what a Star Wars series is supposed to be about. Now, I've heard very great things about Andor, so I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch that. But Mandalorian really is the creme de la creme when it comes to Star Wars TV series, and it looks like Season 3 is going to keep that tradition alive. Next up is the trailer, or the full trailer, for Scream 6. Now, I'll tell you frankly, I haven't watched a Scream movie since 3. I've never been a fan of the franchise. When I saw the first one back in the day, I understood why it was important. I understood why people loved it, as far as it poked fun at those conventional horror film tropes. I just didn't find it interesting. And subsequent films they really distilled themselves into rudimentary slashers as far as I was concerned. So with that, I haven't seen 4 or the previous one that came out, which I was actually meaning to do simply because it seemed interesting bringing back Courtney Cox and whatnot. But the trailer for Scream 6 dropped. It's in Manhattan. And you may automatically think of Jason Goes to Manhattan. And clearly this seems to be something totally different, obviously, since it's Scream. However, it really plays up on the lore of Ghostface and how Ghostface has permeated in this society. And in the trailer, they find this Ghostface lair in this net. So it seems that whoever whomever is Ghostface, or it may be multiple Ghostface, who knows, there is definitely a coordinated effort targeting these individuals, much more of a sophistication that we haven't seen in previous Scream movies. Now, I'm not saying I'm overly interested in it, because like I said, I've never been a fan of the series when it comes to horror and whatnot. However, the premise does look very interesting. But of course, too, it does, just the way the trailer's cut, it reminds me of literally every other teen-focused horror movie that has come out in the past 2 years. So it doesn't exactly make Scream look like something overly unique or different compared to really the movies that it spawned in the past few years. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens when Scream 6 comes out in April, I believe. Let's jump into the LongBox now. This week we're talking Crossing number 6 of 6 from Red Stylo Media, with writer Enrica Jang, art by Alex Cormack. I believe this is either inks or, I don't know, by Rachel Persephone and then Justin Birch. I forget who does what, but they put in a significant contribution to this book. So I want to give them their props, even if I'm not sure what exactly they did. Whatever it was great. I have been a fan of this series. If you listen to this podcast, you know I've talked about Crossing so very long. It's a book that I have supported on Kickstarter since the very beginning. I have to say, I really enjoyed this book. I absolutely love Alex Cormack's art in this book. I really, as someone who was born and raised in Baltimore, I love his depictions of the city. I love his depictions of that sort of Baltimore row house that we see here. I love his facial expressions, about his ability to convey the emotions of the characters. And I'm only going to talk about a few points in this story that really spoke out to me. There was one where one of the tethers of the ghost, he had an Eddie Murray baseball that the younger ghost found, and the look on his face as he recounted why he had it, the fact that it was part of his wife's things, and it's something he heard from his wife's family because they try to take everything. But then even that pain and that letting go in the same moment, by allowing these two characters to literally play catch with that ball that he placed so much value on. And then that moment, that joy that was experienced by these two ghost characters severed their tether to this world, and they saw the light. And one of the characters that was going to light was a young man, a young boy, and he was there with his mom, who was also a ghost. And you had to see her, and the tears and the emotion, and that is definitely heightened by Enrica's writing. But the emotion that Alex was really able to convey with his art as to what was going on was really phenomenal. And I felt that mom's pain. I felt her having to let go. I felt the joy from the son of him being able to leave and to go, but still that sadness of leaving his mom. I felt in the earlier parts of the book with the whole thing with the police and the mobsters, and it was just, he does a phenomenal job telling the story artistically, and it helps that Enrica is just a really awesome writer, and they've really lived and breathed this book for the past couple years, and have really been able to tell a really great story. Now, this is where my issue comes. They left us on a cliffhanger. How you have issue 6 of 6 and the story is not over? We get no resolution. I am upset. I was looking forward to some sort of resolution, somebody going to jail, the cuffs being slapped on somebody for all these teenagers that have been killed, and there's still no real resolution to what happened to Nita and how she ended up on those train tracks. Come on, people. Come on, Red Stylo. You're going to string this out along even more? I'll be buying, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoy this book. I really think that is, I keep saying but there are too many things that I want to say that I just can't, because I just gush about this book. It is really a great piece of work, and this is one of the things what I love about independent creators. It's not a monthly sort of thing, and no disrespect for the major titles that kick out books monthly, but there's something about taking time to really craft a book, from the writing to the art to the production, that you just get a really worthwhile quality book every time you get it in the mail. So that is my take on Crossing number 6. If you're interested in more, you can check out the whole Crossing series and the other books from Red Stylo at Red Stylo. Is either redstylo.com or redstylomedia.com. The official website will be in the show notes. With that, we're going to take a quick break and then come back and talk about, well, a series that I did not expect to love as much as I did, Night Court. And we're back talking Night Court. If you caught us last week, you heard me talk about my impressions of the sneak peek / trailer for the series, and also you heard me talk about how it is one of my favorite series growing up in the 80s, early 90s, as far as a sitcom is concerned, because it was just so unique for the setting, first and foremost, but also the cast of characters that we had at that point in time, and really throughout the whole course of the series. So seeing the reboot / continuation of the series, I was very excited, had high hopes. But with any sort of continuation, remake, reboot, you have to somewhat be a bit weary because of, well, it may only be that series that you love so much in name alone. Well, first of all, they hit it out the park by bringing back John Larroquette as Dan Fielding. And I like how they changed his character in that he eventually comes back. He doesn't start off back with Night Court and being one of the lawyers, but he started out on the original show, he was the prosecutor versus Christine's Marquis Post defense attorney, public defender. Now the tables have turned. He now has to find out how to be the defense. So his snarky wit and his downtrodden demeanor is definitely put to the test, as he is now tasked with defending all of these poor, lonely, decrepit, depraved souls that enter into Night Court for judgment under Judge Stone. And let's talk about Judge Stone, Abby Stone, daughter of Harry Stone, the original judge in Night Court, played by Melissa Ranch from The Big Bang Theory. She is absolutely great. This series definitely feels like I'm watching the original series. I laughed so hard during these first 2 episodes that were dropped at the time of this recording. So they're both on Peacock. Now, if you don't have Peacock, it's, pretty decent service to have. But I absolutely loved it. The cast of characters, from India Day Beaufort as the defense attorney, prosecutor Olivia, to Lucreta as the bailiff, to Neil as the clerk. It's so funny. And then with all the other characters that are there sprinkled throughout in those first 2 episodes, I recommend this series. It is a throwback to classic sitcoms. One of the things that I have gotten out of, I think, the 90s, NBC 90s sitcoms, there's just something that just doesn't work. They got this formula because of Friends, and then they've kind of been running with that and tweaking it ever since. And I have never been a fan of any of the sitcoms that NBC has done since the 90s, late 90s, even 2000. I tried watching the Carmichael Show. I tried watching that, even the Kenan Show and the Wayans Brothers Show. They were okay, but it was something missing. There was something raw that really comes across with those 80s series or 80s sitcoms. And I get that. Like, you feel like this was taped in front of a live studio audience. That's probably the best way. The laughs aren't just laugh tracks. It was really something that I is special as far as I'm concerned compared to what else is out on TV landscape. I've watched sitcoms on Netflix, and they just don't. There's something off. In Night Court, at least in these first 2 episodes, they really hit all of the marks as far as I'm concerned, as to what a sitcom is supposed to be. From the characters to the jokes to just the whole theme of the show, I highly recommend Night Court. So if you're not watching it and you're looking for a good sitcom to watch, I definitely suggest you check out Night Court. Now, moving on from the night, we're going to talk about a few fragrances that I absolutely love from Black-owned fragrance companies. I absolutely enjoy promoting and trying out fragrances in general, but particularly smaller Black-owned companies. And these few are some that I really enjoy. Now, mind you, there are a lot of fragrances from Black-owned companies I actually enjoy and love. One of the things about being on a fragrance journey is that it's a journey. So you get to experience a lot of different fragrances, brands, and network with creators over the way. Now, one of the things I love about this journey is that I've been able to not just come in contact, but experience fragrances from a plethora of African-American owned fragrance brands. So this week, I'm looking at 7 of my favorite fragrances from African-American owned brands. First up is Velour from the House of Maison de Darius. Now, this is one from their initial collection, so this has been discontinued for a number of years now. It features notes of amber, oud, and caramel. And one of the things I really liked about this fragrance is how the caramel and the amber really combine to give this sensual, sexy appeal to it. A little sweet, not powdery as you would think from amber. And one of the things that I really noticed over the years is how the oud just kind of stands up in the background and you smell it, but as the day progresses, it really takes more and more of a prominence in that mixture of that caramel and the amber. If you're looking for something similar from the house, Notorieta also has those notes, and then it also adds in vanilla and violet to the mix to offer something similar but unique as well. Next we have Renaissance or Renaissance Man from Chris Collins. Now, I just have a sample, but this bad boy is potent. It's a spicy, witty fragrance that features top notes of marine notes, bergamot, and ginger, hard notes of cinnamon, sage, and honey, and then base notes of tonka bean, tobacco, and leather. This is a grown man's fragrance right here, gentlemen. It's smoky. It has such a sultry, sensual sophistication, especially as the notes really meld together and reveal that base with the leather and the tobacco. This is definitely one of my favorites from Chris Collins. Of course, over in this space, there is no list of Black-owned fragrances without speaking of Ovation for Men, with aquatic notes, Sicilian lemon, Indonesian patchouli, cashmere wood, and bergamot, amongst many other notes. It's one that offers an air of sophistication, class, and even casualness, all in one bottle. It's one of the fragrances that I absolutely have to have in my collection. As you see, I'm getting pretty low, so it's one I definitely have to rep on. But just like the slogan says, every man deserves an ovation. Next up, we had a one-shot fragrance from a company that is more so known for their beer products, and it is Perspective by Perspective Black. With this one, you find citrus notes, woods notes, spice notes. I always say it starts off like a boozy gin and tonic, but as I continue to have this one sit around, I get more and more of that spice when I spray it in the opening, and surprisingly, the longer it sits on my shelf, the longer it tends to last on my skin. So I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it a lot more in the spring. It's perfect for the springtime as far as I'm concerned. Next up is one of my favorites from the house of Kirk Elliott, and it is none other than EKJ. With this one, you find top notes of fig, yuzu, grapefruit, and green mandarin orange, middle notes of red mandarin orange, cinnamon, cardamom, and clove, and then base notes of tonka bean, leather, mahuhu, and musk. For me, it speaks as one of those fragrances that are uniquely or definitively unisex. You have the fresh fruitiness of the top notes, you have some sweetness, you have some spice, you have the leather and the musk tend to my nose always skew more masculine, but in my opinion, EKJ is a perfect mix for all. And next up, I actually started to reach for another fragrance from this house, and that is Ether. But I wanted something, not saying Ether isn't unique, but I wanted something that was definitely more unique compared to the rest of my collection and other things that I've been wearing lately. And also, it is cold outside, so I really wanted something to cut the cold. And that's why I chose Echelon for Men from Kimberly, New York. Now with this one, you find top notes of orange zest and aniseed, heart notes of black pepper and musk, and then base notes of leather and mahogany. This is a robust fragrance. This is a fragrance for me is very unique compared to others that I own and have smelled, and it's one that is definitely it works great in the wintertime, great in the cold, and great for those intimate settings. And I would be remiss if I did not talk about this fragrance, and I'm talking about some of my favorite fragrances from African American fragrance houses. And of course, it is none other than the one you've seen before, Sensanto and Sage from Savoir Faire. With this earthy, woody fragrance, you're going to find notes of Palo Santo, clary sage, oud, ambroxan, bergamot, cryptomeria, tobacco, grapefruit, musk, cardamom, cashmeron, and heliotrope. It's a fragrance that I keep coming back to. It is different compared to a lot of the ones I already own. It is potent, it projects, and it lasts all day. So those are some of my fragrances from black owned fragrance houses. Let's talk about another fragrance that is from a small business, not black owned, but it's still also good, and that is Villain by Pete and Pedro, which is what I'm wearing today. You heard me talk about it last week on my pseudo first impressions. Well, I have pretty much worn this fragrance exclusively for a majority of the week, and I have come away impressed with this one. It just smells so good. It is perfect for the winter. You're going to find top notes of lemon, coriander, nutmeg, heart notes of provincial lavender, ginger, cinnamon, honey, clove, and aniseed, then base notes of benzoin, frankincense, amber, sandalwood, vetiver, oud, gagwood, vanilla, tobacco, and tonka bean. Now, one of the things I found interesting is that different people picked up different things from this fragrance. I immediately, when I sprayed it, and even when I smelled it, I picked up that honey, I picked up that tobacco, a little bit of that tonka bean as well. Others, really that vanilla and the honey mix, that sweetness really stuck out for them with some of the comments that I received from wearing this fragrance. It is definitely one that is suited for the winter. I'll say again, I know it'd be interesting. I love the way this once the heat picks up, even though it's not quote unquote something I would think would work well for the heat. I'm curious to see how the oils really dissipate and what would get revealed differently in the hotter weathers compared to the warmer weather. But it is one that I received 10 plus hours, probably good hour to projection from this fragrance. So I was really impressed. I can't wait to pick up others from Pete and Pedro. And I will say this before I go into the, hey, I got affiliate link spiel. I pay for this with my own money. I did not receive a discount in purchasing this fragrance when I bought it. So this review is of my own free mind, free will, and there was no incentive in me purchasing this fragrance with a discount or free. So I say all that to say, we do have an affiliate link for Pete and Pedro if you are so interested in trying out Villain or any of the other fragrances or products from Pete and Pedro. You can use the code EHawks10 or the link in the show notes to get 10% off your first purchase. You can also support us on Patreon by becoming a producer for as low as $1 a month. Producers $1, associate producer is $3, and the executive producer is $5 a month. And each tier you get exclusive content that you can find nowhere else on the web. If you like my videos from Exotica, I got uncut stuff on Patreon. Yay. And also, you need a different energy drink. You're tired of the Monsters. You're tired of the Red Bulls. You're looking for something that's a bit less expensive and something that is a bit more natural. Well, I suggest you try out W Energy Drink. You can get 10% off your first purchase with the code WebsterMan or the link in the show notes. So with that, let's go into the fragrance of the week. And this fragrance is another one from the indie house My Signature Scent. And this one is Chocolate City. And if you know what I'm talking about. Before I even get to the description, you can find it in an EDP concentration 15 ml bottle for $50. Now, this one is a unisex fragrance. It leans heavy and more gourmand with the notes of chocolate, orange flower, and broom flower. Now, broom flower is not a note I was familiar with. I had to look it up. It is one that offers some of the sweetness of the orange flower, but not as sweet. So you get a sweet, floral, chocolatey mix with Chocolate City. So it is one that's described as not so sweet, but is warm and sexy. The description from the site is a fragrance that is inspired by the vibrant yet cool culture of Washington, D.C., aka Chocolate City. Besides it being a political center and tourist destination, it is home to HBCUs, Howard University, and UDC. Those that aren't natives may not appreciate the sound of go-go, but it's the beat of the city. This is a fragrance that I really become a fan of chocolate gourmands, both for men and women. I like what a lot of fragrance houses are doing with chocolate, especially with that addition of the spice, in this case with the floral. I am really impressed with it. It's not so much my taste, but I can definitely see this fragrance appealing to a wide variety of people. So that's my take on Chocolate City by My Signature Scent. So where can you find us every week? Of course, you can find me every week with my man Brian Saff over on Nerds Rule the World with the NRW Checkpoint, where we talk about the latest and greatest in video games every single week. Also find me on social media on Instagram at Webster Style and Sartorial Geek, on Twitter at Webster Style, and of course on TikTok at _Webster Style. Everything that is Webster Style can be found at websterstyle.com. And of course, drop me an email, ask me a question, give me a show idea, recommend a fragrance. Email me at info@websterstylemagazine.com. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your listening ear. Remember, stay safe out there and be blessed.
Now it was Tree Green Tuesday. Had to be Bow Tie Thursday. Had to be White Wednesday. I know last time. Well, I wore polka dot. You didn't wear.
Miss Million, them heels killing them, but I'm sure it's a Thursday. Bow tie Thursday, pasta cream in your heels looking sharp, babe. Acting like you don't know the rules up in the workplace. Must I remind you it was till on your birthday? Don't get me wrong, I think we killed in the birthdays. And you picked the hella fit for the church day. Let's say you picked the wrist game for it. Now you got the floor filled with bras that you purchase. Pick a color scheme that can match the berry corset. Get the berry cream. Berry cream, get the berry cream, we can make a little scene. Cause no one man should have all that styling. Take it off, clothes on the floor piling. No one girl should fit it all in them jeans. So take it up and let me see what's under them seams. Cause no one man should have all that styling. Take it off, clothes on the floor piling. No one girl should fit it all in them jeans. So take it up and let me see what's under them seams. Let's see what it seems. If it is what it seems. Do it again. Chicks be looking thick leggings, you know what I mean? I don't know. Take a hint though, don't try to get me at a moment. Mint though, smoking hot, rocking this pen so thin. Tie hairline, looking like a stencil. Pimp, no lie, I'm sharper than a utensil. Instrumental, plain dang, homie. I was hoping we could walk out with that bang bang, honey. See them plain James, honey. Them lame frames, funny. We tell it fitted crazy like that thing came on me. Hey, mommy, liquor lady, main thing. Want me on the scene, fit popping like a main vein, running blood color lips, smashing with the hand clutch money, holding bag, kinda funny. Can you tell me what's the price tag of the Range Rover? Hang on me when we walking, looking Gucci like that thing sprayed on me. Walking with a limp like an ankle sprained on me. Yeah, I rock the cardigan. She don't really want me because one man should have all that styling. Take it off, clothes on the floor, paddling. No one girl should fit it all in them jeans. So take it off and let me see what's under them seams. Cause no one man should have all that styling. Take it off, clothes on the floor, paddling. No one girl should fit it all in them jeans. So take it off and let me see what's under them seams. Hey, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Aim off and on and leave me alone. Aim off and on and leave me alone. Cause no one man should have all that styling. Take it off, clothes on the floor, piling. No one girl should fit it all in them jeans. So take it off and let me see what's under them seams.
Oh, you wanted to? Oh, I completely read that wrong.